Eli Manning stays on his feet. It is caught by Tyree.
Welcome to Catch the Moment Podcast. I am your host, David Tyree. Thank you for joining us for another exciting episode. This is where we get you where you need to go through your journey. Let's talk through the pain points and get you to your next moment along the destination and getting great done. Today, I'm here with the founder and CEO, Dynamic Servant, Mrs. Nena Ugwuomo. I got to get this right. Founder and CEO of Student Dream. Thank you so much for being with me.
Man, thank you for having me. I'm excited.
Listen, your smile says it all. That's fantastic. You got to love somebody whose smile just light up the room. You already know we had a tremendous dialogue. Obviously, a little, pre-search instead of research, profound impact, right? So we're going to get into this amazing journey of how you got in this position, even almost as a pioneer in this space. It's a common conversation of, bridging the gap, bridging the wealth gap. This is this big conversation that we've been talking about over the last 4 years. But before we get into it, I got to ask every guest, I don't know if you caught any episodes, where were you the first time you ever saw the helmet catch? If you saw it. And what do you remember when you did?
I don't think I know the helmet catch.
Oh, this is great.
I'm sorry.
No. That's the reason why we ask. No, you should never lie. So good. You should definitely look that up on YouTube. Okay. It's the greatest catch ever. I mean, we just, I got to, But all right, cool. So now in light of that, let's move forward. In light of you, this is even better. I know that your background is in the New England area.
Yes. I was there during the Brady era.
Did you follow any football?
I did. I had to, or my brother would disown me.
Your brother would disown you. So you was rooting for the Patriots?
Absolutely.
So
if I pulled out my debit card, it still has the New England Patriots.
So do you know that Tom Brady's not a big fan of me? So you probably should know that much. Okay, so I crushed his dreams of being undefeated. So that's the background with the helmet catch. So make sure you.
Him.
I was him.
Oh, no.
He is I and I was him.
Sorry.
No, it's all good. So but it's just good times, man. It was good times. So even though so it's good. I'm glad you didn't see it, so we wouldn't have any bitter blood today, and we don't have any rivalry. But talk to me about your background, and I really. You kind of got into it in relation to your cultural background, ethnic background, but also being in a unique space like the New England area, the Boston area specifically. Yeah. So talk about formative years and how that uniquely crafted your journey toward this vision of impact with Student Dream.
Yeah, I always like to say that being in Boston, I was at the center of revolution. When you follow my life, whether it was at Boston, at Howard, in Harlem, I've always been at these epicenters of historic change.
Yeah.
And so I was born in Roxbury, Massachusetts, and when we were 5, my mom moved myself, my grandmother, and my 3 older brothers to Lexington, Mass.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, is there a stark difference in those two specific communities? Because I know.
Yes, we go from being in a place where my brother's getting in trouble for hanging around people he shouldn't be hanging around.
Yeah.
To now, there's really no room to get in explicit trouble.
Good.
We're at a great school system.
See, I'm a parent now, so I'm like, good.
Right.
When you're young, you want that smoke. You're like, nah, man, I'm cool.
Right.
That's fantastic. So you begin to see the different extremes in relation to, even the New England area. So when you talk about the epicenter of revolution, you go to Howard University. What was your guiding light through those formative years? How you arrived even at this historical HBCU?
Yeah.
I believe sports was a part of some of your upbringing. So talk to me about what were the things that were really drawing you to along this pathway that was really shaping your mindset to be able to see and kind of fall into this vision that you've begun to cultivate?
Man, I would say it was a lot. Like, even when I look back, the theme that comes to mind is just the sovereignty of God.
Go ahead, talk about it. You're free.
I didn't really come to my faith in Jesus until my freshman year at Howard. But before that, I always saw myself being, again, put in these places of opportunity and access.
Nice.
So my mother was a super driver, just her instilling me a work ethic and not giving me everything. So I had to get a job early on.
Nice. Good job, mama.
And so that led me to learning about how you can work a bunch of hours and not get that much money back. I didn't like that. So I had an issue with that.
You learned early.
Yeah, I learned early and then stumbled upon this book called Rich Dad, Poor Dad. So that planted the idea.
Wow. All right. So just for the sake of frame of reference here. So how old were you? How old are you now?
Yeah.
Because you are leading a company that is respectfully influential, right? How old are you now? How old were you when you read Rich Dad, Poor Dad?
Great question. I'm 33 now.
Come on.
And I must have been 15 or 16 when I read Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
Oh, you're this is the bane of envy.
Yeah.
Well, amazing. 15 years old when you read this book?
Yeah.
What was I've heard, the sad thing is I've heard so much I didn't even feel like I needed to read it. It's like,
right.
But, I do understand the transformative way of living life and thinking. So what did that do for you?
It just planted the idea of starting a business, investing, and really being an owner versus just a worker.
Nice.
Yeah, that was a big thing.
So by the time you get to Howard, you're thinking on a different playing field. What were you pursuing at that time, and how did you take advantage of the unique resource of it's obviously I have a few friends that love their experience at Howard. What was that like? But let's not get it twisted. Black folk, we distracted. So what was it like being kind of like having a mission, having a little sense of vision ahead of the curve, but also being out here in these streets?
It was an interesting world. I think Howard was a life-changing experience, but in a very humbling way for me. So the thing about Howard, it's the mecca of Black excellence. And if you are not secure with yourself, it'll highlight that. And so for me, it really highlighted a lot of my insecurities and just not knowing who I was. Should I join this sorority or should I join this club? And am I worth it? Because at that point, even though I started to walk on for the Howard basketball team, I realized, hey, there's so much more to life than sports.
Nice.
And since I'm not fully committed, what should I do?
Wow.
Right? And so for me, it really forced me to figure out who I was, what I valued, and that somewhat happened by me just falling in to my faith.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, there's no reason to be ashamed here. Yeah. So, that's really great for you to actually acknowledge that, right? Because, college really is for so many people. You're no longer up under the law of mom, and if you're fortunate, mom and dad. So, question or ask different realities, like, what is my life, really founded upon? So, what was the moment of real impact for you where, whether it was discovery, whether God found you, or even being solidified? Because you can go one or two ways, especially through those years. Obviously, the dropout rates are incredible for all kinds of different reasons. So, if your faith was a part of the forging process or the fortifying process, how did that happen for you? Yeah. And then how did it amplify your efforts and your pursuits of excellence in the marketplace?
Yeah, no, it's a great story actually, because I was broke.
Come on, somebody. Come on.
I'll go to church quickly when I semester starting in a few weeks and I have no money to pay for it. So that was really the catalyst. It was summer after my freshman year, and even though I had saved up a whole $10,000 for 4 years of college, I didn't realize that college costs more than $10,000.
Wow.
And so
you learned, but you ain't learned enough.
Right, exactly. That's why I needed Student Dream then.
Wow.
And so was just really sad, that mixed with, again, identity issues. Who am I? Where's my worth and value coming from? And a friend just invited me to church.
Yeah.
And I really resonated with the message. It hit me. Long story short, God reveals himself to me. I understand, wow, Jesus really is the Christ. And
isn't it crazy?
It's amazing. It's amazing. And
it's great for you to phrase it in that way. Obviously, everybody doesn't believe, but at the end of the day, when you do, it's that moment. It's not like, no, this is not just a fable. Like he really is. He really is a person.
Yeah.
So it's great that you framed it that way. So you come alive.
Yeah.
And
I stopped cheating in school.
Come on, somebody. Come on.
Stop cheating.
You got some just scales going on in your life. You have some integrity about yourself.
Just my effort improves, and just still aware of my love for business, because I was in the school of business, and just really was a lot bolder in pursuing some of my interests, whether that was opportunities to study abroad in Haiti or South America, or go to leadership conferences for students in New York City.
Sure.
So it really helped me to boldly pursue my interests and put in the work to pursue those interests.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
What was the most difficult? Because when I'm thinking about age, and I mean, like, you got to have a real narrow lens to, kind of stay away from certain landmines at those age. And then obviously, young lady, these dudes out here in these streets, temptation. Specifically, then, I'm kind of putting the timeline together. Like, man, you've been out here in these streets doing some pretty amazing work. You jumped into the river pretty quick. How did you navigate that? And what was the greatest challenge that you feel to, like, getting to the finish line at Howard and then really creating a vision toward what you would be doing?
Yeah. I mean, honestly, the thing that really propelled me was just community.
This is great.
And honestly, I think that everything we need is found in community. And I
powerful.
really leaned into that. I wouldn't be here without some of the mentors who I met through the church that I connected with, through the Bible studies that I was a part of.
Excellent.
It was really that community of just like-minded young people who were hungry to be excellent, to honor God, and to call me out if I was acting crazy.
Yeah, come on, somebody, accountability. This is what most people are running from. It's amazing, but we as much as people hear it, people for whatever reason fail to position themselves for it. And it's just a small amount of people that really have this true growth appetite. Like I said, truth. My platform is truth, transparency, and transformation. That's what DT3 is. And I think if you can align yourself with core, with strong, credible core values, right, that align with truth, then, and have that sense of community, transparency, and authenticity, then the sky is really the limit. That's where the growth and the transformation takes place. And it sounds like you were just, man, it's amazing because I realized how dumb I was when I was young. I'm like, man, it's amazing to see such resilient, sound, your generation is just,
I mean, so much grace, like, seriously. And in being
fair.
An athlete, that was a gift that I had too, just understanding that I need a practice. I'm talking about practice. Right?
Practice?
If I wanted to excel, that there needed to be some level of effort.
The mindset. Yeah. Faith, we already know it. Faith without works is dead. Come on. Yeah. This is really great. So at what point does, do you see this vision for Student Dream?
Yeah, so this is cool because I didn't even think about this. So it was probably my senior year of college. I was figuring out where I wanted to apply to schools, and I was freaking out about it because none of the companies that I was seeing was interesting to me. And so I had this moment, I remember just walking on Georgia Avenue and kind of freaking out, like, oh my gosh, I don't know what I'm going to do. And I just heard the voice of the Lord, just a still small voice, just say, you are going to help people, places, and things accomplish, like, their purpose.
Wow.
Right, and really achieve their potential, people, places, and things. And that was probably when I was, 21, 22 years old.
Come on.
And so just fast forward to a friend who I was in a Spanish class with, and be kind to people, y'all. That's the big thing. Be kind to people.
Everybody hear that?
Yes. He was a year ahead of me. He graduated, started working at the Nielsen Company, this really dope marketing company here in New York.
Yeah.
And he just texts me and says, hey, Nena, we're going to be on campus. Are you looking for a job? And the only thing that drew me to it, well, yeah, that it was in marketing, but that I would get to travel around the country.
It was some fringe benefits.
Right. So it was probably the only, I think I applied to 2 jobs, that one and Coca-Cola.
Nice.
And I got it. Ended up moving to New York, working in tech, and that's where I learned about venture capital, angel investing.
Yeah.
Just this whole world of starting companies, making company for a living.
Wow.
the spark.
Yeah, so now I can see it. So you go from, from the Boston Tea Party revolution down to historical Black college into New York City, the Mecca, pretty much the Mecca of all things. But but in it, now your eyes are open, right? And it's great. God seeds a vision. Talk about what, Student Dream is, what it does, because I would give you the credit of being a pioneer, because you said 2012.
Yeah.
So this is 10 years. This is before the DEI initiative.
Before.
Come on. I mean, I got to give you some credit,
Thank you.
because even just looking it up, not fully knowing the timeline, I'm like, oh, this was largely before the DEI initiatives were even considered. So amazing as a visionary.
Thank you.
So talk about what the programs provide, what it's cultivating. And I definitely got to hear what it must have felt like when the force of these conversations have been stimulated.
Yeah.
Of course, in the middle of COVID. And I mean, by that time, you subject matter expert.
Right. So, wow, where to even start? I think, so Student Dream, we are basically closing the racial wealth gap in America and across the Black diaspora by training Black and brown students to build wealth.
Amazing.
Period. Not theoretically, but practically helping them get to their first dollar of wealth.
Wow.
So my thought process, having been in New York City, seeing all these people making a lot of money who weren't Black,
yes.
I said, wait, I truly believe you just need to be able to read, write, and have good work ethic to make some money. That's it. That's all we need.
Come on, you talk about language. I'm like, can you read this book? Can you read another book?
Right.
Can you write?
And be coachable.
Yes.
The sky is the limit. And so I think just knowing myself, knowing the friends I went to Howard with, I saw what we could do. I knew what we could do.
Sure.
And so we do that through courses, coaching, and content around investing, personal finance, and entrepreneurship.
Excellent.
So since we started back in 2012, we trained nearly 2,000 students across New York, New Jersey, across the country remotely. Right. They've built emergency funds. They've opened up brokerage accounts and started investing. They've started companies that we've helped them raise over $1 million in funding for. They've made sales. They're literally increasing their assets, decreasing their liabilities.
Huge. I mean, I can only imagine that, at the infancy stage, it's just like, whoa. And at the first seed of impact, now you're starting to see something come alive. What was it like in the midst of this boom of, from at least 2018 on, DEI is now this emerging opportunity in the marketplace, but of course, COVID, the amplification of, just racial injustice, but also seeding so much opportunity for the diaspora, the minority community at large, primarily African Americans. So what was it like for Student Dream at that point? And what has it been like since? Because we know there's diminished, there was all these delivery. Everybody had an initiative. So what was it like? I know it had to be relatively exciting and hopefully some increased opportunity and visibility for you.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I got my largest. We got our largest donation today.
Let's go. Today?
No, to date.
Oh, today. Okay, excellent.
Right, people just coming up to me out of nowhere. I was like, hey, I'll.
Let me get the bucket out.
The white guilt money, I'll take the white guilt money. I don't mind.
Talk about it.
Yes. I don't mind.
I don't mind at all.
Sorry, we're doing good work, and I don't mind as long as you're healthy. You're not doing anything. Don't have any unrealistic expectations.
Sure.
We will put your money to
work.
So that was surprising, just seeing again the generosity of people during that time.
Sure.
And I think for me, again, I did the work for so long, so it was so fascinating to see this whole call, not just for equality, but economic equality being preached about across sectors.
Yeah.
So when I heard President Biden talking about it, when I heard multiple private sectors folks talking about it, public sector folks, that was so surprising. And so I was like, hey, we have to capitalize on this.
Yeah.
I immediately called up two of my girlfriends who work in the space as well.
Sure.
But more so on the workforce development side, I said, hey, we have to work together. Let's collaborate. And that honestly is what helped us survive and really thrive during the pandemic, really working together. Got the largest grant to date.
Tremendous.
Yeah. And so collaborating, taking advantage of that moment, already having the relationships to reach out to and connect with during that moment really helped us to thrive. And even since then, because we did so much from 2018 during 2019, 2020, we really built a track record now that we can build off of and continue to work with more students, not just locally, but across the country.
Amazing. Because
now we're at the hybrid model. So we learned a lot.
That's
it wouldn't
great.
have happened if we hadn't have been putting in the work beforehand, if we didn't collaborate during the wildness.
Yeah.
Really leveraged each other and the resources around us.
That's great to hear you say that. It's almost like there are moments like that where you know that you're in the right space, because if you don't have that foundational element, then you're scattering. There's opportunity everywhere, whether you create it or whether it's an appointed time, right? But I think there's a sense of ease and worth and credibility that you guys relatively really settled into. But it's great to hear you talk about the collaboration. Even myself, I'm on a early stage as an entrepreneur, right? Yeah. Success in different areas. Success is always relative. I always like to frame that. Like, hey man, you have to define success. So in relation to, like from the visionary, well, number one, let me be clear. Congratulations on that big win, the massive grant, the increased reach. You have to celebrate in the middle of, these are not, everybody's not doing this.
Talk about it. Thank you.
Everybody's not doing this, especially at 32 years old.
33.
33, okay. I give you your Jesus year. She her Jesus year. But that's fantastic at 33 years old. Everybody's just not doing this. And, so.
I'm a little crazy.
You definitely are. It sounds like you got a nice little trip.
I got the negative bank statements to talk about it. Not right now, y'all, but years before. So
let's talk about some of the pain point, right? Like, what was it doesn't have to be super dark, but what was the hardest part of, when you go in the nonprofit sector, it's fundraising, grant writing. What were the complementary skills that you either needed to undergird, or what was the hardest part through some of this journey of gaining stability and vision casting?
Man, so many. I think honestly, the biggest pain points was just my character. I didn't realize how many, again, these were gaping holes in character that I had, but just the gaping holes in character that I had, just pointing out my insecurities. I would be upset. Yeah. I would be jealous when the students that I was helping, who I want to see succeeded.
Oh, this is good. Ooh, my girl coming clean.
So
this is great.
I see the kids who I'm helping start these for-profit businesses, raising money, and then here I am like, oh, well, we haven't raised the money we need to raise.
Self-loathing, just a little pity in your heart.
Yeah, so it really showed I need to deal with that jealousy issue. Or I need to deal feeling insecure when I'm going into these settings where I know people have a lot more financial capacity than me, resources, and here do I belong here?
Yeah.
God was clearly placing me in these places.
Sure.
Because everybody brings something different to the table, but I was not in the healthy, I wasn't mature enough to know that.
Yeah.
And so just having to deal with that and some of the repercussions.
Well, that's so honest. Girl, you came 100% with it.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't a skill-based thing. It was a person-based thing, right? And the best illustration when we talk about character, it kind of sits in four pots. It's like, your capacity of discipline, right? To do what's necessary. Some people, the next pot is emotional stability. That's where, and there's one pot that's identity. And the last pot is, your value system. So when you evaluating your character, look at those four different areas, because that's what makes you uniquely you. And, but you got to check them through those different pots in a way where it's like, okay, where am I weak at? Like, some people might not be, and that's integrity is refining them where we're closing the gaps in all of these particular areas. Like, am I an emotional wreck, right? In a way where it puts me as a risk to a relationship or a business opportunity, because, athletes prove it, right? Athletes, you see somebody who's wild on the court now, he's saying something,
Yeah.
He's a liability. So it's really great for a business owner to be able to acknowledge that it was me. I had to check me in the midst of this journey. It wasn't about presentations or accounting and this and this and this, but it was just about, wow, this journey of the introspective work.
Yeah.
And that's really powerful.
I would say that was the biggest. There was certainly
some competencies.
There's certainly like business competencies,
sure,
leadership skills, not, and I say this, I use this word specifically, not objectifying people. And that I'm just looking for them to, for a transaction, whether it's, hey, volunteer, just, was totally impatient with people, not gentle, not kind, and that definitely burned some bridges.
Yeah.
But
those learned lessons.
Yeah.
And I think this is why people, like it took, like I said, growing up in sport, it's really weird because it's so it's so satisfying, right? Imagine you playing a game, now you're getting paid to play. I'm like, I done hit the jackpot.
Yeah.
So.
Some people don't, you talk about some of these ball players, they don't want to play.
Oh my gosh.
So, hey,
it's a total, like I said, I don't have any bit of jealousy. I think all the people before us, and I'm glad for the guys shining today. Yeah. But it's a fairy tale experience. Yeah. It's almost like being a fish in water. Yeah. Because you get a chance to focus on the one thing that you're good at, 1 to 2 things you're good at. And the challenge in business and leadership and entrepreneurship is you have to check every particular area. And so, I think that's there's some of the strength of your journey is your awareness of some of those, oh man, me is costing me this opportunity, not necessarily my inability to learn something. It's like, I have to learn how to build the bridge and be something so that I can connect that dot or maybe find that resource. But you talked about collaboration and, some things that you were hitting on. What do you feel is like the essential skill, as a leader, an entrepreneur, and to, like for me, that's kind of one of the things that I've settled on as now that I'm like, listen, I've done some things. I'm somebody, but I'm like, no, I need to collaborate. So for you, not that it has to be pinned to that. If there was something else to add on to that at this stage in your leadership journey, what would you say is something vital to the current market conditions? Like we got tech, all these different moving elements, remote workers, gig economy. Like what would you say is essential virtue as you're moving forward in your leadership journey?
Yeah, I would definitely say patience. Oh my gosh. If I would have enjoyed so many more parts of this if I was just patient. And truly understanding that things take time. And that's honestly that's patience. Whether it's finding the right teammate takes time. Raising all the funds takes time. Building out the system so that you can scale more.
I'll make sure my wife listens to this right now. She be on my head, it
takes time. And it's funny because this all came together for me recently this past summer where I got into really good shape. So I was totally sedentary.
Yeah,
like a blob, but I was out of shape.
It was like this ain't me.
It wasn't. I wasn't ready for what do you guys have? Not spring training.
Oh yeah, training camp.
I wasn't ready for training camp. And so I got into shape, and I realized probably in week 2, just seeing how consistent I was being.
Sure.
I was like, wow, I'm doing what I got to do, but haven't lost the 10 pounds yet because it just takes time. Literally takes at least 12 weeks.
It's a good illustration.
And so it just clicked. I'm like, man, you just once you have that right protocol and that consistency, it just takes time.
That's excellent.
Just focus on, are you doing the right things? All right.
Yeah.
It just takes time.
Building great habits and the results come, right? Yeah. I tell people all the time, it's my job to get great done. I have to trust God with the results. But I know that within when I say within reason, mean like there's things that actually work, like there's some verifiable quantum, like we're in a data centric world where, in light of the information we have, this is the best plan of action until you know better. But I still have to trust God with the results. Yeah. And it sounds like that patience is the virtue that, gives us ease to enjoy the process.
Can I add one thing?
Sure, go for it.
Yeah, or 2. Focus and again consistency. So you can't do everything, but focus on that one thing. There's this book called, I think it's called One Thing.
Oh, go for it.
And so the whole idea is, what is one thing you can do that'll make everything else easier or unnecessary? Because as a business people, there's a million things to do in the day.
Sure.
But hey, what's that one thing you got to make sure gets done each day, whether that's at your prime period? For me, that's 8 a.m. to 10 a.m.
Nice.
And no matter what else happens, I need to get this done because it's going to make everything else easier or unnecessary.
Oh, I like that.
So for me in this season, it is like doing a brain dump of everything that's in my head so that my operations manager can start building these systems so that other people can easily come in and start doing the work instead of Nena doing everything.
Boom.
Yeah.
Boy, you out here. You ministering. You serving. No, that's so excellent. And I like the fact that you said it could change from day to day, but that one thing can change. I mean, but it's imperative to identify what that one thing is that will make everything else.
Yes.
I hope. Listen, folks, don't miss this. This is really great. So, but you've been out here in these streets, so I always like to kind of marry this. Some of these professional, and we're talking about the personal. Yeah. But obviously, your faith, you're a servant. You're missional, and I noticed even within the faith community, right? Family, marriage. Where's your journey? Yeah. And what is it like on that side of things? Meaning like, okay, there's a life that you're trying to live from a virtue and integrity. Yeah. Then there's the side of, okay, I have this ginormous mission in relation to Student Dream. Yeah. And then there's, am I going to be a wife?
Oh, I'm going to be a wife. Let's get that straight.
Well, like I said, it's like, okay, well, you at that prime, you at that prime time, you travel, you live a very rich and meaningful, purpose-driven life. Yeah. And, so where's the intersection? And I don't like to use the word balance. I'm like, radical obedience is my thing, but I understand. Yeah. I think that in radical obedience, your faith is central. You find balance. Yeah. You can't obey God radically without rest. Right? So it's like, I'm like, no, I'm going to do everything God said. He said, rest too. Yeah. So for your personal life at this intersection and stage, is there like this point where no clock ticking? But I know that's like a shared life is something everybody's looking for. So you talked about community. Where's that at for you at this stage? Yeah,
there's definitely a healthy, non-thirsty urgency.
Nice. I like that. Yeah.
Yeah. I would say we talk about balance. Well, we talk about radical obedience. And Priscilla Shire once said this beautifully. She was saying balance could look like 70-30, 100-0. Right. And I would, because like of the type of, I think the time I was growing in the faith, I would say that the church didn't do such a great job of understanding just the gray areas of the nuance.
Yeah. There's black and white, and then there's this muddy waters.
Yeah. And so unfortunately, I would say I spent a lot of my 20s just thinking, hey, God's just going to give me that dude. Yeah. I'll just come across him. So just focus on this business. And so that made me totally oblivious to some of the guys who were clearly like, oh no, come to happy hour. I was like, oh no, like, why would I go there? Not realizing that guys were trying to talk to me. And, was just very not invested in my social life. We'd go to work, church, the gym, maybe I don't know who, Jesus Culture concert.
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't Maverick City. Who was the group back then?
It was definitely Jesus Culture. Yeah.
That was it. And so I think it's just been beautiful to see, I would say, my personal coming of age and just really realizing the same way I've invested in work, in my physical health, my emotional health. Yeah. If marriage is something that I want, I need to invest in it. So I've done been so much more intentional.
Great.
I'd say the last 2 years, just investing in my social life. Yeah. That can look like traveling and making sure my apps are open then.
That's right. Come on now.
Talking to my guy friends and, hey, who do you know?
Yeah.
My friends, who do you know?
So cool to hear you say that.
I would say I love my life. I would say I'm the best version of myself I've ever been.
Nice.
And so that makes me even more excited to share.
More attractive, more confident, more secure.
Yeah.
Well, it's great to hear you say that. Like I said,
super invested.
I said, I'm almost 20 years married. I said the reason why it's so great to open up the dialogue is because I said, like, man, there's this trend in our society where, delayed adolescence, everybody's making decisions way later. Some, most people they make economic decisions, and some people are just really want to settle in and do. Either way, that's a personal decision. But I said, man, we were blessed in our blindness, right? When I say that,
that's great.
I was not in the faith, and we had a child in college. So it forced us into being responsible, right? Like, and don't advise. Definitely don't advise. But what it did was it gave us the space to grow together, right? Like, I have this thing, like, I'm kind of like, obviously believe that, God does everything well. Amen. And, so of course our hormones start raging in our teens, right? But we're really not responsible. So we typically hold off to those 20s. Yeah. And the reason why is you can really get to grow together, and nothing's lost, nothing's lost. I think
that's beautiful too.
But it is like now, I got seven glorious kids, and they eat my bank accounts, and it's great. But I'm like, oh man, I want that for people. I'm like, so it's a trending thing where it's like no one's even considering marriage until 30, and they got blinders on. And that didn't sound like your story because you have so much to share. But I think it's really great to hear, your honest perspective about the intent. Like nothing is happening.
I would say I didn't have the best strategy.
There you go.
And again, I'm like on a crusade now. I'm like, ladies, have a strategy. Come on, go out.
That's so cool.
Don't go to Zumba. They're not there.
No, I don't do that Zumba. Not the ones you want, at least. Not the ones you want. What, like when you think about the legacy that you're, and I know, like I said, I'm still in prime years, but like I said, for me, everything's about intent. The legacy, I know that God is at the centerpiece of your vision. Yeah. But when you think about the legacy that you're looking to continue to establish and build, what does that encompass?
Wow, I love this. I can pull out my spreadsheet that lists all this. I'm a dreamer, so
I love it.
I'll just write it all down. So there's many parts of it, but I would say the initial part is Jesus, justice, and Black wealth.
I love it.
So really helping people get closer to Jesus, helping us experience biblical justice.
Nice.
In our cities, in our world, and building Black wealth. And Black is anybody who's been historically oppressed. Definitely African Americans.
Sure.
The whole diaspora.
Yeah.
One of the questions I ask myself is, what does it look like to redeem and restore everything that the sin of racism has broken economically?
Sure.
That's a lot of people.
It's a whole lot.
That's a lot of people.
I tell people, this is my joke amongst my friends. I'm like, listen, I'm old school African American. I'm like, I don't know. I don't do no 23ancestry.com. I'm old school Black. I ain't got no extra language. I ain't got no ulterior. So my heart really bleeds for, because there's a certain measure when you look at the oppressed people who have historically come out of slavery. They don't have an identity. They don't have a language. They're lacking a different way to restore community within themselves. And of course, thank God my identity is in Christ, right? I tell people, I'm like, listen, man, I love being Black, but I'm Christian. I'm more Christian than I am Black. Like I'm a whole nother nation. I love it. But in that, I'm still Black, right? So like, I don't have to abandon it, but it's not the priority because my identity has been reframed. And some people, like, even Christians, I feel like they're a little more on they're a little more militant. And I'm like, well, justice is colorblind. So, and I try to be even killed. I mean, like, there needs to be an agenda toward not just racial reconciliation. There needs to be, I do believe that there's higher priorities at certain times. So I think it's a priority. I think God is doing something. But at the same time, doing my best not to be biased in my own agenda and trying to have the heart of God.
That's wisdom. That's wisdom. And I think that's faithfulness to faith, integrity.
Man, so amazing.
Can I add to it? There's a few more I'm really excited about.
Listen.
It's really important to me, so thank you.
Give it to me.
So the other part of my legacy that I'd like to leave is solidarity. So to your point, when I think about, I feel like we haven't scratched the surface on diversity, because one of the words that I got from the Lord was, diversity and inclusion practitioners, they think they understand it, but it really stems from Scripture. When Scripture says, like, you are beautifully and wonderfully made. So if all my friends are black, if all my company is black, I'm literally missing out on the beauty and the wonder of the Lord. Right? So I want to see and have friends and work with and collaborate with people from all around the world, because I want to see the beauty and the wonder of the Lord. I want other people to experience the beauty and the wonder of God, and that's through people. It's the relationship, not just with folks who I live and work with and I'm around, but all around the world.
Yes.
And then last two areas are around family. Like, I want people to feel at home. I think about the scripture that says God puts the lonely in family.
Nice.
And so many people don't have family, whether that's your initial family that you're born into, a family that you'll build through a spouse, or just community.
Just real community.
I want people to feel at home and really, again, experience just the power of family. And so that's what I want to be known for. And then lastly, helping people get into shape and just be well, physically, emotionally.
That's one of my keynotes. Be well, do well.
Be well, do well.
Yeah. So being well, family. You said it was started with an R, right?
Solidarity.
Solidarity.
Yeah. Jesus, justice, and black wealth.
Jesus, justice, and black wealth. Well, you're on your way to generational impact.
Thank you.
I just can't thank you enough for being who you are. Number one, it's very sincere, but even more so, it's worthwhile. Tell everybody, where they can find more information, how to support, and what's next, for you, as well as sometimes you got to separate people from their passion or product. But just tell everybody where we can find you and what to expect moving forward.
Yeah, absolutely. So you can find me at, my work is studentdream.org, at the Student Dream on the social media handles. Personally, you can find me on Instagram at Nena U, so YOU Inc.
Nice.
So Nena's trying to help you.
I like it.
That's my business. That's my work. And what's next? Wow, lots. I think specifically with Student Dream, I'm looking to expand our work. We're hoping to get started more intentionally in Los Angeles, and in the Dallas/San Antonio area over the next 2 years, and then also really expand our digital reach. Because there's so many students across the country who we may not interact with them physically on the ground.
Sure.
But they want to build wealth. They want to win with money.
Yeah.
So we've created Student Investors, which is our digital community of students. We meet regularly, get to hear from other speakers, hold each other accountable to our goals. So definitely send your kids, send your wife, send your kids.
Don't hide your kids. Don't hide your wife.
Don't hide them. So I'm really excited about that. And then personally, I'm just excited. I feel like I'm in a season of just pouring in more.
Nice.
I'm not that. I'm older, but I'm still young. I just want to pour into folks, especially young men.
You have a lot to offer.
Yeah, and so I'm really looking to do that. I recently became an assistant girls basketball coach for a middle school team here.
Okay,
yeah,
let's go. You got them girls working on their crawl.
Got to. You can find me at the Dodge YMCA on Tuesday mornings.
I love it.
But yeah, excited to travel the world. I told you my goal.
Listen, good travel. You are out here in these streets. Listen, she is heading to the airport.
Come on, Quito, Ecuador. So
amazing.
Yeah, and then get married and have lots of babies.
Go for it. I got 7. I don't advise, but it's one of the best things I've done. I tell people what brings forth maturity is responsibility, because you learn how to keep commitments and make necessary sacrifices. I call them necessary sacrifices. You don't want to sacrifice on the wrong altar, right? And that's kind of where we talk about strategy. Oftentimes we're making sacrifices. They're not illegal or illicit, but sometimes it costs you something that you didn't really want to lose, right? But children are sacred. Families are sacred, right? We talk about some of your legacy. it's in things that really are sacred. And I said, you know, that part is what has formulated me into a dynamic leader, servant. We were up to here at 6.
Wow.
And I just didn't get to the doctor's ass. You know, the wife, she's so fine.
Amen.
But I'm super excited about all that God's going to continue to do through you individually, but as well as your collective vision with Student Dream. Make sure everybody go check this out and be on the hunt, you know, for this dynamic leader and servant. Thank you so much for kicking it with us.
Thank you so much, David. I
God
appreciate
bless
it. I think it's hilarious because I know who you are now. I remember where I was when that catch happened.
You remember now?
I remember. I think I was watching the game with friends. Oh my God!
The helmet catch. Yeah, I can.
I remember.
You know, I'm gonna have before I let you go, I'm gonna have this ongoing gag. Like once I kind of get all my platform together, I'm gonna create this thing called "Say My Name, Tom." You know, because he doesn't mention my name anytime he refers to the helmet catch. He's like that guy that made the helmet catch. I'm like, I'm gonna get some T-shirts. I'm gonna set New York City on fire. We're gonna be like, "Say my name, Tom."
That's hilarious. That's probably a trigger. He probably was in therapy.
Yeah, he probably need a little therapy. You know, Rodney needed some therapy. But no, thank you so much, and we look forward to continue to build and continue to get great things done together.